Today's talk is about your metabolism, and basically that your metabolism is not broken, but the diet culture has definitely been lying to you this whole time. So I want to talk about why that is in a second. If you are new here or if you haven't been here for a while, I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Tiffany. I'm a board certified and licensed nutritionist, and I came to this space because I myself have dealt with so many of the things that I teach about here. And basically, it resulted in a diagnosis of thyroid cancer that had metastasized, and it started me down a whole other rabbit hole into health and wellness, and specifically nutrition, which changed it all for my situation. And that's why I'm here today to help many of you out with similar stories with the same things. So that is what I talk about in here. The majority of the time, it's from my personal and now professional experience, being in business now for about 12 years, helping people in similar situations. So let's discuss the topic at hand. So, like I said, your metabolism isn't broken, but the diet culture has certainly been lying to you, because so many people are struggling with, the idea of I do everything right. I eat well. I exercise all the time and I'm gaining weight, or I can't lose weight. My metabolism just must be broken. It's probably my thyroid. And people feel defeated. They give up. They get frustrated. They feel like failures. And that is really, really defeating over time. And that alone keeps us stuck. Okay. So most women don't have a broken metabolism, but they have a metabolism that is adapted to the behaviors that they've taken on because of, or the behaviors that they've done because of what diet culture has told us. And that's where we are in this place right now. So we have to kind of go through the process to reverse it. I do this with people all the time in my Total Health Reset program. It's designed to, deal with the core foundations of our health so that we can optimize our functioning, right? So we can feel and function so much better. So what we need to understand is that the body's number one job is survival. It's not fat loss. It doesn't care how many pounds you feel like losing. Okay, it's going to keep you alive, and it's trying to keep you safe. Its metabolism will respond to your perceived the stresses that it perceives, right? The illness, the over-exercise, the under-eating. It responds to that by dialing it down. It downshifts, and that is an adaptation to keep you in survival mode, right? It doesn't mean you're thriving, right? It doesn't make you feel great, but it's doing it because it's going to shut down the other body processes so that it can just conserve your energy, as an example. So metabolism basically is not just about how many calories you burn. I mean, it is that, but it's also the energy that's required by your body to do the things that it does, all the jobs that it does, like cellular level, your day-to-day types of things. So that's your metabolism, how those things function. And everything slows down. Think about it. Your brain slows down, your hair growth slows down, nail growth slows down. You can kind of see some of those things that people talk about on a regular basis, right? That are just a result of slow metabolism. All right, so we are often then told that when your metabolism has slowed down, it's just because you're getting older, which yes, things change, but we can counteract that as we age, which is something we talk about in this all the time in this program. But it slows down because it's adapting to your behaviors. I'm pointing at myself too, because I've done all these things in desperation with dealing with thyroid and thyroid cancer, and frustrated and thinking that the answers were to be more restrictive or to be more punitive with the workouts and that kind of thing. That only made things worse. I'll just tell you that only made things worse. Okay, these things are reversible. Sometimes it's not always super easy to do it. It's not going to happen overnight, but you have to kind of know where you're starting, and you have to have sort of a methodical approach to get that back. So here's what I will talk about, what happens with metabolic downregulation and what that really is. So like I said, it's a protective response. It's not that your body is failing. It feels like it because it's frustrating. But what happens is that resting energy expenditure, just the energy that you expend sitting at your desk, cooking dinner, sleeping, that all becomes reduced. And so does your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is kind of like the same thing. So basically anything outside of your like formal exercise routine, your time at the gym, anything outside of that becomes reduced. Your NEAT becomes less. Okay, and that's really important for longevity. That's why we talk about taking, getting out some certain amount of steps each day. That helps with that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. We don't just get healthy for that hour in the gym. We have to be active throughout the day. We have hormonal shifts, hormones that you probably have heard of but don't really focus on too much, but we might have a decrease in leptin, and when we have a decrease in leptin, that shuts off your body's ability, your brain's ability to say, okay, I'm satisfied now, I don't need to eat anymore. It shuts the hunger cues off. But we have the opposite effect with ghrelin. That's our hunger hormone. That one dials up. So we're constantly hungry, plus we can't shut it off because our leptin decreases. And then we have cortisol increase, which then we've talked about many times in here, increases your stress responses increase, your stress adaptation is lowered, and then that's when people have imbalanced blood sugar. That's when people end up by putting weight around the middle, and it's just sort of a vicious cycle. So the body becomes more efficient on fewer calories. So that's how people can say they're eating 1,200 calories a day and they feel fine, but they're actually not fine. Their metabolism is in the tank. Here's the thing. I've worked with a lot of people who have gone on some restrictive diets, and they tell me that it works for them until it doesn't, right? So they restrict. They go to 800 calories a day and they lose weight and then all of a sudden they gain it back, or they cannot lose, and now they have brain fog. Now they're terribly tired. Their gut is messed up. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So it's not good, and it just starts other problems. So we need to avoid that. And if you're there, we need to sort of refeed your body in order to function much better. So weight loss plateaus will happen even when you're perfect with your diet, with your exercise. You're totally compliant. That will stall no matter what at a certain point. So this dieting and restriction is the body stalling, right? It's training your body to stall. So these repeated restrictions will teach the body to just expect the scarcity. Okay, it expects scarcity. So that chronic undereating is different than if you have like a short-term deficit. If you're maybe intermittent fasting 1 day a week or 2 days a week, even if you are sick and you don't have an appetite, that's a different thing because you're in this healing phase. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about chronic undereating where you're eating 1,400 calories a day, 1,200 calories a day, and you think and you're worried it's too much if it creeps up to 1,500 because you have been told that 1,200 is the magic number for losing weight. I know in my worst, when I was in my worst place as far as energy levels and frustrated with weight and that kind of thing, I had gone to an internal medicine physician who was a marathon runner. She ran, that was her thing, was high level cardio. And I gave her my food journal and my intake of water and that kind of stuff. And I was eating about 1,100 to 1,200 calories a day max. And she said, and I didn't lose any weight. And she said it would probably be smarter to go down to like 900 to 1,000 calories a day. That was her solution to this. And while I'm also going to the gym quite a bit, so I was doing probably 5 classes a week at the gym for hour to hour and a half. And that was her solution. And that's when I knew that this was not going to continue. I was not going to be talking with that person about this kind of thing again. And it was just ridiculous. And that's where I looked outside of myself to try to get some help and support. And that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous information to give people. But this is common. It happens a lot. So stop listening to that kind of stuff. Listen to me. Okay. All right. So if you are kind of skipping meals where you're, like I said, it's more than the whole intermittent fasting thing, or you're doing intermittent fasting every single day, and you're not very metabolically stable, that's not the time to intermittent fast, by the way. So you want to avoid the skipping of the meals. You want to allow your body to understand that it's safe. It's getting some nutrients. It's getting some energy in the form of calories from the food that you're eating. You will avoid the blood sugar swings that comes from skipping meals. You'll avoid the cortisol dysregulation that happens when you skip meals chronically. And when you are eating that low calorie level for too long, that will absolutely backfire. That's the whole crux of this, right? So your metabolism, it would be super nice if we could just go into your Chronometer app or your MyFitnessPal and do your calculations and calories in, calories out. You're good to go with losing weight. They used to say that if you just have a deficit of 3,500 calories per week, you would lose 1 pound of fat per week. And it would be really nice if that magically worked out. I don't know anybody. I know maybe one person in my time of doing this, and even before doing this, where that kind of equation worked for them. But if you are talking to the person who has hormonal imbalance, has a thyroid condition, doesn't have a thyroid gland like I do, is under chronic stress and is under fueling constantly, that equation doesn't really map out. It would be super nice, but that's for people doing studies in a laboratory. It doesn't take into account a lot of things going on with an individual and all the things that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So don't beat yourself up about how that equation doesn't usually work for people, okay? Calories matter at some point, meaning too little or too much, but I mostly see women eating way too few, and that's causing the problem. All right, so then we are chronically under eating, and then we expect our hormone systems to work properly. And that is for sure not going to happen with your thyroid. So thyroid issues will then complicate metabolism because they are the big part of how our body functions and a part of our metabolism. There's thyroid receptors on every cell of the body, thyroid hormone receptors on every cell of the body, and it affects every cell of the body. So it's a huge factor, but it's definitely not the only factor. And everybody likes to blame the thyroid, and they, for reasons that make sense because it is involved in everything. But if we are under fueling constantly, again, we're avoiding support. We're not supporting, I should say, the T4 to T3 conversion. And that stress that comes with the restriction and over-exercise and that kind of thing, and some of the mindset stuff that goes with that, absolutely affects your thyroid hormone conversion from the inactive to the active form. So this leads to more cortisol uptick, or sometimes people flatline with cortisol. Then we're in that adrenal stress, right? Adrenal fatigue, you probably heard of. It creates more inflammation in the body, which again downshifts things. You create nutrient deficiencies like iron, selenium, zinc. Lots of your minerals are going to be depleted because you're not eating enough. You're not eating the right types of food. So it's not just I want you to go pile on the calories just to get calories in. I want them to be quality too, right? Whole food eating as much as possible. So this is why the eat less, move more kind of fails you long term. So if there's more stress on an already super stressed out system, it doesn't fix it, right? So if you're already starting, below normal, and then you add on more HIIT and cardio, if you're adding on under eating, you are going to inflame yourself. You're going to cause more blood sugar dysregulation. You're going to cause more depletions of nutrients in your body, which is going to just cause a deficit in your metabolism. You have to support your body in order for this to figure itself out, to reverse it, right? So you need to be able to take the time to support your body, and it's actually self-care. Okay, it's actually self-care. So doing that excess cardio, that increases more cortisol in an already depleted body. If you are doing HIIT training, high intensity interval training, which is awesome, It's actually really good for supporting growth hormone, things like that. But you're under fueling while you're doing those things. You're gonna have more fatigue, you're gonna have inflammation, you're gonna stall with your weight loss, or even it will be hard to go into that body composition change, like building muscle, losing fat. Strength training, if you're strength training, but then you're sending inadequate signals because you are not fueling properly, that's going to keep you kind of stuck long term too. So recovery has to be the metabolic strategy. So if any of this resonates with you, I want you to comment, tell me your little story, your situation with that if you feel up to it. But right now we need to move into a recovery phase. If any of this resonates with you, you need to stop what you're doing if you're doing any of these things, and you need to do something different. And it looks like recovery, it looks like support, it looks like fueling your body. And that needs to happen now. All right, so these are some signs that your metabolism needs a little love, needs some support, and it does not need any more punishing. These are signals, right? That's not that your body is flawed. There's not something wrong with you that's not failing you. It's signals, and we don't listen to them because we are told to explain it away because of our age or something like that. So there's cold intolerance. If you find that you are cold all the time, yes, it's often related to thyroid, but it's not only thyroid. If you are losing hair, or you've noticed that your hair doesn't grow as fast as it once did, that kind of thing, like it's slowed down in the growth of things, then that's a sign. Same with your nails. If you have dry, flaky skin, if you feel like your skin's kind of sallow, kind of dull, that's a sign that your skin is not turning over. Our skin cells turn over pretty regularly, and in a sluggish metabolism, that's where you can look kind of dull and dry, flaky, and that kind of thing. Poor sleep. If you're getting inadequate sleep in both quality and quantity, that is going to affect, or that is a sign that your metabolism is affected and needs to be supported. If you are cycling still and you start to have shorter cycles or longer cycles or more painful cycles and that kind of thing, or you're in that menopause type of category, if you're getting more into those types of hormonal shifts, that can be a sign when you have some more irregularities that your metabolism needs a little bit of love. And if you are constantly chronically fatigued, your metabolism is definitely in the tank. Food obsession, fear of foods. If you feel like you're creating some disordered eating around foods because now you're afraid to eat carbohydrates or something like that, that's very common. That's a sign that your metabolism needs some support. And like I hear a lot, I just have to look sideways at a brownie and I pack it on. I pack on the weight. If you're at that phase of metabolism downshifting, then you for sure need to stop doing another diet, stop another quick fix, stop over exercising, and you need to rein it in and really get back to the basics and the foundational things that help a body be healthy. Okay, so here's what actually helps rebuild the metabolic resilience. Okay, this whole year I'm focusing on resilience in my own health journey, but everything I talk about within my programs, especially the Total Health Reset, we talk about resilience all the time. If we don't have resilience in our body, it's really hard to heal. It's really hard to get healthy. So that's what we need to do. So remember, like many other things in life, including your metabolism and the resilience of your metabolism, it's safety first. Safety first. Then it's fat loss. Okay? Could take a while, could take a couple months, could take a week where you start to notice a difference, but you have to create safety in your body. This is the first step of recovering your metabolism. So the first thing I tell people to do is to continually eat protein, consistent protein. You don't have to eat it nonstop all day long. You need to give yourself at least three doses of protein, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, at minimum of 30 grams. 30 to 50 would be awesome. Work up to that. You don't start right there, but you need to start with one of those meals and do it every single day, and do it, diligently with good quality foods. Don't just eat a bunch of protein bars, protein snacks, protein labeled things that are greenwashed. You want to eat real food as much as possible, real protein sources as much as possible. Protein shakes, if you have good protein powder, that kind of thing can be supportive and help you fill in the gaps, but you shouldn't rely on it for all your protein. I had someone doing 3 drinkable, like ready to go protein shakes a day. Don't do that. Those are not good quality at all. You're not getting any really other nutrition. So in a bind, use something like that, but not as like the rule, not something you do all the time. You need to have those regular meals. So if you do the breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3-meal magic, you're going to regulate your blood sugar, which will tamp down the inflammation in your body. It will tamp down the stress in your body, and you will start to recover. Your body will start to feel the safety, and then the metabolism can spike from there. When you are prioritizing exercise, when you are up to that, you need to prioritize strength training. And maybe it's really strategic. Maybe you start out small where you're using resistance bands or just body weight exercises even. But if you're doing it first, maybe a couple of times a week, and then maybe 3 times a week, maybe 4 or 5, depending on how you feel. And then the other days you might be just doing some walking, getting some steps in. Doesn't have to be a huge cardio day. This will help support and create that resilience in your body by just giving it some love, right? This is just restorative things that strength training is going to help with your metabolism, in many different ways. It's really important to really support the body at this time. This is the recovery piece of things. This will kind of surprise you and probably make you a little bit uncomfortable. But carbohydrates, yes, even with a thyroid issue, you need carbohydrates. You don't need ultra processed carbohydrates in the standard American diet, but you need carbohydrates from whole food sources, from plants, from, and I don't just mean vegetables, we're talking vegetables and fruits and legumes and other kinds of beans and different kinds of grains depending on your tolerance to them. You don't have to eat the restaurant size portion of these, right? You can have a more normal portion. You don't have to, again, eat the ultra processed or the packaged versions of those things. Like, for example, last night I made Spanish rice. You can buy Spanish rice in boxes and bags and that kind of thing. I'm thinking, how hard is it just to make your own? If you're making regular rice already, how do we do this? It's super easy, simple. That's what I mean. Get away from the packages and processing things and make your own versions. And it's actually way better tasting, and then for sure better for you. This will help your body calm down. Your body's going to just take a giant restorative breath and then be able to do what it's supposed to do to help you out. Patience, which is the hardest thing. I have very little patience, and so this rebuilding phase is very kind of frustrating, especially if you are a go type of person, if you like to get the thing done. This is going to be a little hard for you, so you need to lean into it, know that it's a process, and nothing that I'm talking about ever is a quick fix. Not to say that some things don't happen in a quick time if you are methodical about what you're doing or have the right tools to do with it, but it is something that you need to have. This is not like a punishing time frame. This is about patience, right? You need to restore, reflect, create that resilience, and just give your body what it needs. So again, just to reiterate, your body's not broken, your metabolism isn't broken, it's just protecting you. It's adapted based on your behaviors with diet or with exercise or both. Or maybe you have some kind of chronic condition, a health condition that, doesn't support your metabolism very well. Or maybe you have a medication that actually interferes with some of this stuff. That happens. But you can work with it if you know what you're looking for, rather than just like throwing spaghetti on the wall, hoping it sticks. And why would anybody do that? I'm not really sure why that saying is a thing, but you know what I mean. You want to have an actual plan of what you're trying to do. You need to shift from what's wrong with me to what does my body need, and how do I get it what it needs? How do I give to it what it needs? You need sustainable fat loss that requires, or I should say, sustainable fat loss requires metabolic trust. Your body doesn't trust you right now. That's why we're in a stall. That's why you probably gain weight easily, or you just cannot lose the weight. So the education with this will change your compliance and your consistency, because if you actually understand the why behind what's happening to you, you will actually be able to be compliant and consistent and actually make the right choices most of the time. So this is where I'm inviting you to consider setting up a clarity call. If any of this resonates with you and you feel like your body's kind of broken, this is your time to lean into checking out the Total Health Reset program. I'm going to put the link to the clarity call in the comments. One of my team members will get on that call with you and explain everything to you, but listen to what you need. There are options for you. Everything I work through in my programs are about creating that consistency, creating a good supportive environment for your body to do what it needs to do, so you don't feel broken, so you can actually make improvements with the efforts that you're putting in, and for once and for all understand what your body is doing and why it's behaving the way it is. This is how this program works. You get one-on-ones, you get group, you get education, you have all the resources at your fingertips, and it's there for you to build that resilience, to build that metabolism back up, and just feel and function like you deserve, no matter how old you are. Doesn't matter if you're menopausal, premenopausal, doesn't matter if you're 40, doesn't matter if you're 80. I've worked with all, okay? I work with people in my 20s that feel like they're broken, just like I was. So anyway, I want to make sure that you know that we're here for you, got all kinds of resources and things. And if you want to just show up for these lives, that's great too, because we're going to go through all kinds of information. The topics that I create and the trainings that I create are based on things that I hear in my one-on-ones and my group calls, the questions that people reach out to me and the things that people are struggling with. And that is why I want to bring them here for you, so that you can get the support you need from afar. But if you want to get on that call, I really recommend it, so you can see if you can actually start getting help today to feel and function so much better. All right, be back next week with another topic. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.